Tell me, what is your beef with Bernanke?
These people do not understand risk.
If we're going to have big government, we have to pay for it one way or another.
The evidence out of the US of nearly 4 years of QE is it's not creating extra demand. US consumer growth is continuing to slow.
And the Fed announced it will expand its bond buying program with $45 billion a month.
We're prepared to take further steps if necessary.
Well, what the Fed's really fighting is a depression. They won't use that word. We've been in a depression since 2007. We've had zero interest rates since 2008. We'll probably have them until 2015.
The issue really is that you can't prime a pump forever.
And I'm really worried about this idea that what the Fed's going to try to do is to push up the stock market. To me, that's kind of chilling.
The latest round of bond buying, quote, radical and unprecedented.
Bernanke set the bar for more possible bond buying.
Call it QE4.
There's not a really good direct correlation between QE programs and increasing jobs.
We want the stock market to go up because the economy's healthy. We don't want the Fed to artificially push it up, and I just don't think it's the way monetary policy should be run.
You can't grow an economy just based on monetary policy.
Our nation is in crisis. We face a systemic collapse of confidence in our economy and the value of our currency. The United States controls the world reserve currency, but right now we aren't being good stewards. Already, we're seeing nations around the world set up trade agreements to avoid using dollars. Some nations going as far as dumping US treasuries. Spending is out of control, and there is no one to stop it. At the risk of losing a political fight, politicians in DC are steering the entire world into a fiat currency crisis. Many are buying gold to protect themselves, but what about a return to the gold standard? It certainly makes sense to those who are looking for safety. Central banks own the majority of the world's gold. In fact, central banks are net buyers of gold. Publicly, they hate gold, but behind the scenes they are buying it to protect themselves from the very currencies they are in charge of. Gold as money is treated as an old idea, but it is fiat money that is an old idea that has been tried on every continent and has failed every time, always leading to an economic crisis and in some cases, hyperinflation. America's founding fathers knew the dangers of paper money. That's why they described in Article 1 of the US Constitution that no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender of payment of debts. Prior to the Continental Congress, under the Articles of Confederation, the government had the power to print. However, the US Continental eventually experienced hyperinflation. America thrived during the gold and silver standard, a true free market where we had money that could not be distorted by new creation easily. Most economists will tell you that the US severed its tie to gold because the gold standard didn't work. However, the reason Nixon severed the gold standard is because it worked so well. The gold standard forced the government to deal with its deficits and active devaluation of its currency, since foreigners could exchange dollars for gold. But instead of doing the responsible thing, Nixon chose to end the gold standard and take America on the path of permanent devaluation by funding our wars and entitlements with fiat currency. The Federal Reserve today controls the money supply and interest rates, but did you know that prior to the Federal Reserve, the money supply was determined by natural economic forces? With gold as money, the money supply was stable, and interest rates were determined by supply and demand for borrowing. Instead of sustainable growth, we now live in a world where the Federal Reserve can keep interest rates low and create disasters like the tech bubble, housing bubble, and current stock bubble we are seeing today. Since losing the gold standard, the purchasing power of the US dollar versus gold has lost 98% of its value. The dollar versus oil is down 96%, and the dollar versus food is down between 70 to 80%. This type of devaluation is starting to cause some states to take matters into their own hands. Utah has already passed legislation to recognize gold and silver as legal tender. Already a depository has been set up for customers to link a Visa debit card to their gold and silver holdings. At least 12 states have legal tender bills under consideration. The current monetary system is facing an economic collapse, and only you can fix it. We need to start restoring our nation to a free market economy, where competing currencies are legal and the Federal Reserve is abolished. The currency system is terminal. Inflation is being created and prices are starting to rise during a time of an economic downturn. This is all leading to a collapse in our global fiat currency system. The first nation to return to the gold standard or change their laws to allow competing currencies will lead the way to a thriving, sustainable recovery. Just as the founders started the Declaration of Independence with, "We the people," we need to demand from our Congress and President that we the people want honest money, not worthless paper currency created by the Federal Reserve that has an inherent value of zero. The waste, fraud, and abuse starts with an endless supply of money going into DC. It is time to look to the money that helped the US and Britain during the Industrial Revolution and kept our growth stable and inflation rate near zero.